when we're dealing with rational equations or rational expressions that have fractions within fractions, things can get a little bit more confusing. And certainly students can often get confused by how you deal with that. So let me just show you some things you don't want to do, and then we'll talk about what you do. So here we've got a plus b over 1 over a minus 1 over b. So the first things you don't want to do are kind of like the simple cancellations that we've talked about previously. Like I just can't say, oh, here's an a and here's an a, cancel, cancel, here's a b, cancel, cancel. You can't do that, right? Because they're not multiplied together, they're added or subtracted together. Can't do that. I also can't like multiply like by the reciprocal, like make this like if it's a plus b divided by 1 over a minus 1 over b. I can't say that this is the same thing as, oh, just multiply this by the reciprocal of this and say, therefore, this is a minus b. If I flip those and make those in the numerator, they become a minus b, and then multiply those together and you get choice b. That doesn't work either. So what do we do instead? So let's go back and see what we do. The first thing we want to do is get rid of the fractions, especially when they're in the denominator, because that's going to simplify our lives, going to make things a lot easier. So how do we do that? Well, think back to our first video here on rational expressions about how we combine together two fractions with different denominators, with different letters in them. And remember, what I needed to do there is get them to have the same denominator so I can combine them. So think about it. What are the what would be the common denominator, the least common denominator of these two? And it would be AB, right? You just multiply the denominators together, and that's your least common denominator, very often at least. So, okay, so what do I need to do? I would need to multiply this by B over B, and this by A over A. That would give me a common denominator of AB. I can then combine them and then hopefully use that to make some cancellations. But I'm actually going to show you a better way to do that, and you can proceed and see that you'll get the answer that way. But I'm going to show you a better way to tackle these questions when you've got fractions within fractions. Using that denominator AB, what I want to do instead is multiply the top and the bottom of our main fraction by AB, because you'll see why in a second. So first we'll multiply the top. This is going to get us a squared b plus ab squared. Now what happens on the bottom? This is where the magic happens. When I multiply both of these terms by ab, I'm going to get some cancellations. This a and this a are going to cancel, and I'm just going to be left with b. And then when I multiply ab times 1 over b, the b's are going to cancel, and I'm just going to be left with a. So I'm going to get b minus a. And now we could ask, can I factor this or simplify this any further? I mean, you could factor an AB out of the top, right? This is just equal to what we had before, AB times A plus B, but you're not going to be able to do any cancellations because I can't factor anything out of the bottom. So we're actually just left with this, and this would actually be choice A. As a side note, you could, as we mentioned earlier, plug in some values for A and B and then see which of these matches this choice. But it's really important to know how to simplify this, how to combine this, and it's really important to know this shortcut. Instead of trying to combine these fractions and then deal with it, multiply the top and the bottom by that least common denominator. You'll get some cancellations in the bottom, and it'll help you simplify things really nicely. So this one is A.